Welcome to the Wishbeads podcast. I am delighted to have Koren Nelson here, her new company, Made for More. You're going to hear all about it. But Koren is an incredible woman with a background in global design and strategy, working with Fortune 500 companies until she decided that there was even more to be done, specifically focusing on founders and building a platform for designers to both share their creations, but also give back. And so each designer aligns with a cause, and a portion of the proceeds of each sale support those causes. So we're going to hear more about that. But Koren, thank you for coming. And also thank you for including me in your incredible new business adventure.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. And it's so interesting. When I met Alexa, I've been hearing about Alexa for years we have a lot of crossover friends, and so many I haven't even shared with you yet. And when I was developing Made for More and saw just what you're doing with Wishbeads, I'm like, oh my gosh, the synergy is off the charts. Like, this is a no question. And even since we've just been talking in the last couple of weeks and now onboarding you onto the platform, and I feel like everything is just expanding and growing and multiplying and taking off in a new way. And it's so important, right? The company that you keep.
Oh my gosh, it is. And I also think it's a little bit of that, I want to say the word like destiny, like when your circles keep crossing, and then that moment of connection and introduction, it was like, boom. And in fact, when our mutual friend connected us, it was like 2 days later that you got an email from another mutual friend in which I was appearing to do a wish circle. And you're like, how perfect is this? Now exactly. I can actually meet you and experience it. And it's just sort of taken off from there. But I have to say, I am so proud of you and excited that despite the fact that at the time of this recording, we're sitting here in the midst, I was going to say in the middle, but I don't think this is the middle, my friend, in the midst of a global pandemic. Well, I don't know what this is, but we're just not going to worry about that right now. But I see you really moving your wish and dream forward with love and persistence and detail, which is what you're so good at. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I had been asking for the space to create Made for More. And we all get so caught up in our day-to-day or having to make a living or whatever else is happening in our lives. Maybe we have a little bit of a health setback, maybe we had a huge, huge project. In my case, I had a huge, wonderful project. I started turning away clients, and then they didn't come back as quickly as I had anticipated. And, I think we all get a little bit caught up in like the day to day. And I had been asking for the time and space to make this a reality.
Oh, so are you the cause of the global pandemic?
I am not, and I hope that can come
have time that way. Like a lot,
but I'm trying to find the silver lining. And I guess what I was saying is I'm so appreciative. For years I've overworked, and I'm just grateful that I have a little bit of space to create, because I do feel that without space, there's nothing to fill. And I was so locked up. Like, I've always believed so much in the Marie Kondo method, or I did a Clean Up Your Life program, or sharing with other people, because I work on environments too. Like, everything that you surround yourself with, you should well up with love. And if it's not love, mine's not the spark joy, radar, It's the well up with love radar. But I think that is just so important. And so, anyway, going back to the space thing, there's so many things I want to do in the world, probably like you.
Yeah.
But I never really carved out space in my life to really set that intended time to make it happen. So
yeah,
I'm grateful for this time.
Yeah. And the power of that silver lining in all of this. And I'm with you on that, in the sense that there are things that I've wanted to refresh and put energy towards. My alexafischer.com site, I had largely abandoned for years as I built this other company. And now I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm getting in there, and it feels good to give it some love again
Yeah.
and to revamp it. Even with wishbeads.com, we're revamping the website. And and I also think that there is a time and place. Like, I don't know if you have this experience, but when you have an idea to do something and then you don't do it, like because life is busy and you've got other clients and other responsibilities, then there's this like this voice inside that is like, you really should. Like, why aren't you doing fill in the blank?
Yeah.
And how do you handle, because I can hear, I feel a kindred notion to what you're sharing, but I'm curious how you, what was the moment for you that you went from the pang of feeling the wanting to do something and not yet having the time or allocating the time and space to do it? Was there like a singular moment that you were like, okay, now, like now we have to do it right now?
Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. So many answers
Great,
to
let's hear
that question. This journey started, oh my God, so many years ago. But about, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago, my life didn't fit anymore. It was
it.
like I was going into my closet and I had to put on clothes, and they felt like baby clothes with thousands of needles poking into me, like nothing fit. That's the visual I can give you. And I've known for so many years, even as a child, that I want to be doing something on a large scale that can impact the lives of others, but doesn't just bring me up, but is really a community where everyone can be celebrated and everyone can be a shooting star. I think
Mm.
so for so long there's been this I or me economy, particularly with like the whole Apple movement, or just in general. And I think there's some social media platforms that are going that way as well, even though I love
Yeah.
them as tools. Um, so I've just always been such a community driven person. And I didn't feel that our world was really supporting community. So there was like a huge part in that. I knew that I'm a designer. I'm a multidisciplinary designer. So I've had a jewelry line, I do branding, I do digital, interior design. I
Wow.
mean, soup to nuts, pretty much everything except for cars and bicycles. I don't know, maybe mobility is not my thing.
You don't
Industrial
have to do
design,
everything, but
sort
yeah,
of a little
okay,
bit of
gotcha.
everything. But when I'm only designing, I don't feel fulfilled because I feel like I'm going against part of my soul's purpose, which is here to
Mm.
serve and to heal and to support other people's growth and to inspire others. So that's one component. If I'm only doing healing work, like mentoring or the idea of wanting to join the Peace Corps, even to the point where I filled out all the paperwork and had
Nice.
recommendations, I felt like, but what would my life be without creativity? So I know for myself, I have to have a blend of creativity and healing or service in anything that I do. And actually, I went down to South Africa. I was manifested this amazing trip to go down and help develop an emerging market accelerator that would be all small businesses and technology companies that would serve the continent of Africa. And while I
Wow.
was there, yeah, it was like a gift from God and a lot of manifestation work in the right place in the right time. I think there's definitely something to the right place in the right time.
Yeah.
But I went down, I thought it was such a clear yes. And it turned into a financial fund on the second day that I was there. And I was there for a couple of months. And I was like, I don't think the financial fund is really my direction. And so I was flying through South Africa, back to Berlin. I was in Heathrow for 5 hours. I was sitting with the most international group of peers. We were all at this long communal table at a Starbucks, and we just all started talking. And almost like you share with Wishbeads of getting this download, I wrote the entire business plan for Made for More right there in a 4-hour period. And it was
Wow.
just so super clear. And I just basically thought to myself, what do you know? What are you good at? And what would you regret not doing?
Oh my
So,
gosh. Can we just take a moment to repeat that? Because I know a lot of people who are in this time in particular wondering, what should I be doing with my life? Whether they're faced with a career pivot out of necessity because their industry has completely stopped, or they've just really connected with their dissatisfaction. So, can you just repeat those three questions? Because I think they're really, really powerful.
And if I forget them, because sometimes I'm stream of
And there's
consciousness,
more than three.
let
I
me
mean,
know.
creatively, you can have more than three questions, and
Okay,
you can
perfect.
listen, you can go back. It's
But
recorded.
when I was really thinking about like how do I want to design my life moving forward, because I knew what I had done was a strong foundation to get me where I am. Everything was a step on the path. There were no
Mhm.
regrets leading up to this point. But I wasn't crystal clear on what the next step was and how to join all these things.
Sure.
So it was something along the lines of what am I good at or what are my strengths?
Mhm.
What's the second one?
I don't know. We're going to go back and listen
I
to
don't
it.
know
And I'm
either.
actually going to write it out in the notes. So it's all good.
But it was definitely what am I good at? What are my
Let's just
strengths?
take like a little moment because it's so
And what would I regret
what would
not
I
doing
regret?
for
Yes. Yes.
sure?
What would you regret? But I think, okay, this is such a good example, what we both just experienced right now, because I am of the belief that deep down inside, we know what we're talking about. We know. And when we think about it, like, what are my words of wisdom to share with everybody? Suddenly we censor ourselves and then we forget that we know.
Yeah.
But if you can hear it in your voice, you were so back in the presence of that energy when it all came so easily at that table, the communal table in Starbucks, Heathrow, your friends, the great conversation, and you connected with that energy and you had these three statements, and it was just this knowing. And I think that as people connect with their wish and ponder their lives, hopefully with grace and ease and less judgment, just giving yourself the trust, the reconnection with your deeper knowing is part of the fuel that brings you clarity, that brings you enthusiasm, that brings you just that suspension of disbelief that you can actually do it and
Yeah.
just put one little foot in front of the other. But it's funny, just in the experience of like, I don't know, just that whole little exchange just so highlighted that for me.
It's true because when you're not thinking and you're just flowing, it
Mm,
just all comes out so
yeah,
the
it's all
synchronicity is
good.
right there.
It's all good. But it's true that regret, we're really also looking in this time at the fragility of everything.
Right.
And when your life comes to a close, because come on, everybody, we're all leaving at some point. What are you going to regret? At least not giving it a shot, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there was many, many, many years in my life that I was writing my own obituary because I
Mm,
could not, and this sounds morbid, I know.
not
I
to
could
me. I don't
not
think that stuff.
figure it out from where I'm sitting today looking forward, but
Mm,
I could have a clear picture at the end of my life looking back if there was any regrets.
yeah,
And I'm just not someone that wants to live with any regrets. So
me
that
neither.
was an easier directive. The other thing that
True.
I would say for sure, and even as like I'm, refining and defining, the future of Made for More and my own life, and I'm going into the second half of my life and really thought about like at the beginning part of this year, really how do I want to design my life and fulfill on the dreams that maybe haven't been fulfilled yet.
Mm,
And one thing I know for sure, you need to know what makes you you. Where are you happy? What do you love to do? How do you want to feel in different situations? What brings you joy? I think there is a huge component, or like an such an odd word, but like an atrophying of joy. We're all just doing, doing, doing. And when I think about the things that I do, even work wise, that just light me up and never feel like work, I think that's where people need to start. And I know that this sounds like a real luxury. Um, I'm so fortunate to have the mother that I have, but she was a single mom primarily. And, sometimes I share with her about like my dreams and what I want to do and this very idealistic life. And she said to me, she's like, Koren, I didn't have a choice. I had to stay in technology. I don't want to put words into her mouth, but she did not love it and made a massive pivot change. And now is a psychotherapist doing trauma therapy, and she's phenomenal.
wow.
But she's like, I had to do what it takes because I had children. So there's always a little part of me too that's like, it's a constant balance. You would think I was a Libra between the ideals and the goals and the vision and the life that I want to design and create, not just for myself, but for many, many, many other people. And then the reality of,
The doing.
the constructs of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you and I also connect on that point as well. I describe myself as sometimes one foot is in woo woo or in spirituality, faith, um, quantum thinking sort of thing, and then the other foot is firmly planted in doing and building. And I think it was one of the reasons why, as an actress or just being an actress, specifically in the entertainment industry in LA, where it's a lot of TV and film and commercial and stuff like that, that it wasn't enough for me. I just because I had the business side of myself that didn't want to just be the artist. I wanted this other experience. I wanted to green light my dreams and do something. And I probably would have been a much better suited producer or director. But I'm so grateful that I have always had a curiosity of multiple things. And I think that there's an illusion that your life being fulfilled or your life's work is like this one thing, because there's many of us that it's a tapestry of things. And so when you weave in the designer, the branding, the jewelry maker, the business builder, the philanthropist, the community builder, like there is a tapestry, because you, Koren, are made for more. And your more is actually a platform for other people to do more, to connect more, to create more, and I think it's just another possibility for people, where the idea of like, what is your life's purpose, or what is your dream job, or it can be very narrow, because what social media or the advertising industry wants you to believe is that it's just one solution. And I think that there are chapters in our lives. We change our mind what delights us and brings us joy, and we're ready to move on to other things. So I don't know. I really see that as part of a strength in your own journey, is this beautiful tapestry of experiences in the past, which actually perfectly positioned you to create Made for More.
Yes. Yes. Above all, I have gratitude.
Mm.
And some of the experiences were challenging. Some of them were off the charts, out of this world, exceptional. And I don't even know if I knew how good I had it at the time. So that's one thing. Know how good you have it right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel really, really fortunate. But I have to give you so much credit. I have so much respect for anyone in the performing arts, for dancers, for singers, for actors and actresses. I don't always know the term if it's actor, for actors.
Who knows?
But
I'm a
exactly.
lady. You can call me an
But,
actress.
but I think you actually went into one of the most challenging careers, where you have to put yourself out there and show up so presently every single day. So I just give you so much credit. I mean, I felt super exposed being a creative director and in front of clients and things like that, and presenting all the time, but not near. I mean, but I've got a ton of boards and works, and weeks of work to back it up. It's not just me out there, and it's like sink or swim. So I have to give you a lot of credit.
Well, I'll tell you, I didn't realize that it was going to be a PhD in rejection, but it really is the wackiest industry, probably akin to like the music industry. But I went into acting because I loved people, and I loved the study of the human spirit and their challenges and goals. And I mean, it's really like was my genuine interest in doing it. But then I also like wanted to eat and make money and have a life, because even though I went to a graduate program that really focused on acting on stage, I mean, really like exclusively, which is kind of preposterous, because really, who makes a living doing that anymore? We don't have repertory theaters in the same way. Anyway, but what I found was this kind of battleground of self-discovery, which ironically was the perfect training for all of the work that I did afterward, teaching, and now as someone who's putting myself out there, my creations out there. which comes with its own set of challenges. But because I have this literally thick skin, that was because I went to so many auditions. And even on set, once you got the job, the ding dongs that you had to work with and the crazy energy that they would throw your way. I mean, you can't literally, it's like out of a movie. And you literally can't believe the behavior that is like acceptable, where you're looking around and be like, is this for real? Like ding dongs. So it was a very unique way to build a certain set of skills that actually are applicable to the rest of your life. Because when you're dealing with challenges, whether they're health scares, whether there is even being a mother has its own set of like unbelievable both gifts and challenges. But that's why at the time, you don't realize that, but everything, it all counts, it all works. My friend Anastasia has this wonderful tattoo on her arm, and it says, "It all belongs." And I go back to that a lot. I mean, like, I don't like tattoos, but I love that phrase, "It all belongs." All of it, the hard stuff, the messy stuff, the doubts, the successes, the like the thrilling, amazing peaks and like the lowest lows, it all belongs. That is the beautiful story that you live, that makes you you, and it makes you a deeper person and a deeper artist and a deeper creator and a deeper friend. And I think as I celebrate each year that goes by, because next month I'll be 48, I'm so much happier and more me at 48 than drowning in my questions at 28, for example, But the entertainment industry, if some young thing was like, and people would ask me like, "Oh, I want advice about, becoming an actress." You probably don't want advice from me because I will quickly say, "And what else do you like to do? What's the other
Maybe
skill?"
rethink that decision.
Talk to me about that.
But we all have our path, right? I mean,
We all
you've
have our path.
got such a good point. I don't want to go into it too much, but I have had a lot of health things, which many people know and many people don't know. And I'm so grateful for every single one of them because they were such extraordinary learning tools. It's definitely going to be a lifelong thing. You asked about when was my defining moment to launch Made for More. I moved to Berlin. So 4 years ago, I was in South Africa, going through Heathrow, going to Berlin for a little bit, just to be inspired and work a little, and then come back to LA. I'm always back and forth. And then definitively, I moved to Berlin at the very end of 2017. Not 4 weeks later, do I get misdiagnosed with cancer in Berlin. Yes.
What?
And had to move back to the States. And that was another defining moment where I really felt, I've always had autoimmune conditions. So I was sort of grateful, like, aha, they finally figured it out.
Yeah.
Because with autoimmune, it's so complex and there's not enough out there to get like it. You're either in, from my experience, remission or you're feeling it. I haven't really found I haven't found a full on cure for the autoimmune piece, but I almost had this sigh of relief when they're like, "Well, you have cancer." I was like, "Thank God. So now I know what's wrong so we can actually fix it." And I had a very, very, very dear friend who had battled and fought cancer for 11 years. Her name is Robin Gray. And I'm like, if she can beat this, I can beat this. I'm like, this is a mindset.
Wow.
Like, this is not my time. I can't even explain it to you. It was like divine intervention. I wasn't even scared, but I knew enough that when it comes to anything, when it comes to illness, sooner is better. Deal with it as soon as it comes up and don't postpone it, because the longer you go, there's very few times that there's like miraculous recovery. So I did know that I needed to come back to the States. And that experience was such a switch of like, you know what you're here for. You haven't fulfilled on it. You've been playing a way too small for a little bit of time. And like,
You're made for more.
let's get on it, basically. Like, let's get to it. And
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
And then, I had to take on some work and stuff, and there was a couple of setbacks, and I had 3 months of medical tests and all this stuff. And ultimately it was a non-issue, but very
Wow.
disruptive time. And then, I filed for my trademarks, and I was like in progress. I had an assistant, I had a developer on board, the whole business plan was done, everything was done. But what I do know about energy is, and I forget what the expression is, but sort of like where your intention goes, energy flows.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I was all in on Made for More, and I wasn't paying much attention to my branding and design firm, but I didn't have funding yet. So all of a sudden, the reality is money is an energy and money is flow,
Yep.
and you needed to move.
Yep.
And
And you
my
need to pay
flow
your bills.
was drying up, and Made for More was getting a lot of feedback, positive feedback and attention, but the funding wasn't there yet, and I was starting to run out of
Yep.
liquidity or the flow. So then I put it on hold for a little bit, and then my lawyer called me about August of 2019, and she said to me, she's like, Koren, there are 5 other companies that are jockeying for your trademark. Like, you need to make this happen.
Great. And can
And
you just
that was
give
it.
everybody, give everybody a little bit of sense of what Made for More is? Because I
Yes.
want people to
Yes.
check out madeformore.design, and you
Yes.
can check it out. And it is as the time of this recording, it is about to go live, right?
It is on May 1st.
Yay! Okay,
And
so tell everybody a little bit about what Made for More is.
yes, so Made for More is a curated global marketplace that connects every independent designer brand, primarily ethical brands, with a cause partner. So if you have, let's just say 500 independent brands, you have 500 cause partners. So not only will it be a conscious, almost online global department store, because it's primarily focused, at the time it was designed a little bit around, like the first floor of Barney's, homewares and clean beauty and accessories and handbags and jewelry, sort of the area I really know well,
Mhm.
which is more the accessory side and the clean beauty side and the homeware side. Like, that's what I have an eye for. I love fashion as well, but I didn't necessarily want to have a pair of jeans here and a sweater here. I didn't know how to really curate and create a collection like I thought we could for doing more accessories based and homewares based site. And probably that's also what I'm more passionate about. So that was a little bit easier in what I know, because I think I shared with you, I had a store for a while on Abbot Kinney that was to promote other emerging designers. And I got so much positive feedback from that. And I loved, loved, loved that experience. And we closed about 2008 when the economy was changing. But I always wanted to get back to that. And I never fully engaged the digital technology and online and e-commerce and everything at that time that I knew was possible. So anyway, the thing that I love about Made for More too is because it focuses on independent brands. It allows brands to try new designs. It allows individuals who may want to experiment with being a designer to launch, 4 or 6 SKUs and see how it works. Eventually, I want to be doing ethical manufacturing for designers that want to move their brand into a more ethical area and set up cooperatives. My real passion point is more in Africa, but I know will be a lot of opportunities, all over the planet to set up these women's cooperatives. But it's primarily, in the simplest terms, an online conscious department store. So it has the capacity to really scale.
And then then a portion of all the the proceeds from each sale goes to a cause selected by the designer.
Exactly. So it's really in partnership. So every designer is linked to a cause partner, and 11% of every sale from that designer goes directly with zero capital dilution to the cause partner. It does not come out of the designer's costs. It only comes from the platform, and we give it off of the total cost to the cause.
It's
Yeah, and
amazing.
also I would, I also think there's gonna be a really great opportunity down the road to be creating projects and more of a movement and more of a community to really support these causes on a greater level, to do some travel philanthropy work, to go in and help at some of these collectives all over the world, and I think it's going to expand much
Beautiful.
further than where it is,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
beautiful. It's
thank you,
beautiful.
thank
And
you.
also, I was I was checking it out, not just, very recently. And it's so funny because I noticed that I love ceramics and I was taking a ceramics course, when it all stopped because of this pandemic. But blue pen ceramics, I love
Unbelievable,
her. I love her. And I'm like,
unbelievable.
okay, of all the things, like of you picking whoever you picked to be featured on Made for More, I'm like, I know her and I love her. Then I
Oh
go
my gosh.
online. Yes, because I bought her things before. I love her work. Wait, like behind me, there's probably, hold on. Yeah, there's her ceramics like in my room right now, like not in front of me. Um, but I go on her Instagram because I'm like, oh my God, I love her. And I go on her Instagram and she's got a video of her hands on the wheel and she's wearing a Wishbeads bracelet.
Oh my gosh.
And
The
so you start,
synchronicity is, like, off
I
the chart.
know. And so you start to feel, and I just want to highlight, like this kind of is how Wishbeads, Wishwork, this is how life, we don't realize how connected and supported we are in oddly miraculous ways. And to
Yes.
me, when I see that moment of connection, I just know, wow, how lucky that we just followed the breadcrumbs and stayed connected. And you know what I mean? Like it just is another sign that this is
Yes.
like I'm with peers, because there was some reason why I was drawn to her, that she was drawn to you, that you can't describe it. How did that happen? Like it just,
Completely.
so those moments where when we naturally have doubts or obstacles or things that in our narrative are like, I didn't ask for this, somehow the other voice that needs to start chiming in, it's like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. The angel needs to speak up and say, but pay attention to this and pay attention to this and you can do it and keep going forward. And suddenly you start to exercise that muscle of seeing for yourself the signs and coincidences, and the community like you're talking about. Like, even in my position, this idea of having some sort of collective as a business owner, designer, teacher, even if I wanted to go down the road of like, how would I organize from a manufacturing point of view, a collective approach, even for one division of my company, it feels overwhelming, but now it doesn't, because I know that that's part of your intention down the line, and I'll learn from you and we'll work
Yeah,
together.
thank you, and I mean, that's so much of it too, like, I think well, oh my gosh, so many points that you hit on, but like meeting you, meeting Emily from Blue Pen Ceramics was also a gift from God. I was at
Yeah.
a dinner party, I was talking about Made for More, um, you know my feeling is we are all made for more,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like my mantra because I think it's such an easy way to ask yourself, like, what am I made for? And I met her and her husband, and we were at this dinner party, and and they said, oh, can we take your card? And, we'd love to talk more. And I wasn't even talking about the business at all. We just sort of hit it off, and I gave them my card, and they're like, oh my gosh, you are so clear and so intentional about what you're doing. They're like,
And
it's
her work
written
is
all
off the
over your
chart.
card.
I love her work so much. She's
Thank you.
my aspirational potter.
I love her too, and I was like, "Yes," and I was just sharing about how I'm looking for more home goods designers and ceramicists and all this stuff, and she's like, "Oh, that's what I do," and,
And I
you
happen
never
to be
really know who
wildly
you're talking
talented.
about or their work and things, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was such a direct hit, yes, it was not even funny, so I'm
Yeah,
so,
no, it's not
so
even funny. Like,
grateful.
she's so cool. And I
Yeah.
remember when we were actually doing a pop-up market. And so I'm over in one section selling, and I had this wonderful young girl working with me. So I gave her the booth and I was wandering around and I was like completely dorked out on her ceramics. And I was
It's
like, I'm getting all
exceptional.
my presents here. Half of them are going to be for me. And then I'm going to buy more. And she was just like, okay, settle down. I know you like my stuff, but I do. I love it. And she inspired me to take ceramics,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So
Her work is really, really, really exceptional. But
yeah,
there's something I wanted to go back to too. In the very beginning, we started talking about COVID, and I felt like I glazed over that a little bit, and I definitely don't want that to be something that I'm not taking seriously. It's interesting. I think everyone has a role to play during this.
mm,
Um, And I feel like for right now, I definitely think the best way that I can protect myself and to care for people around me is to keep my energy up.
totally.
And there's so many people around me that are really struggling. My
Yeah.
uncle was intubated for 3 weeks.
Ooh,
He's out of it now. He's
wow.
actually doing quite well.
Great.
It's out of his system. He beat every single odd. He has
Amazing.
MS, he has heart conditions, he was intubated, which I didn't realize that when you're on a ventilator, it's more or less that you're in a coma for that extended period of time, and it's hard
Yeah,
to pull someone's body out of it. So, it's interesting. There's been a I'm not discounting what's going on by any means, but I feel fortunate, and in part, probably like you and many people, we've gone through so much that I found a way to find the peace and a little bit of the calm in this. And I will, like when I had the cancer scare, I showed up for it and acknowledged that I would deal with every experience as it came. And I think that really built this strength. And like right now with COVID, like it's definitely scary. It's definitely deserves more attention and empathy than I gave it in my initial response.
yeah, but I also think you're absolutely correct, Corin, in the sense that you contributing a calm, creative, hopeful energy, even if it is just in your emails and the way you move about your home, that energy is part of the solution.
Yes.
We don't need any more energy, and I'm saying energy that is around stress, depression, anxiety, because it is understandably present. And the
Yes.
more that we can be in that calm, loving space, even as we're navigating shopping or greeting a FedEx driver as they come to our home or talking with a loved one, it is part of the healing. And if you're fortunate enough to have life experiences that prepare you more or less for this, then great. Then let it be part of that healing positive energy because very similar to you, on one hand, there could be a voice that says, like, I feel a little guilty that I feel so fortunate that I get to stay home. And the other day, I had a big FedEx delivery because I'm launching a new line soon. And I decided to have it shipped to my home. And so this woman shows up from FedEx and she seems exhausted. These are big boxes. So I'm like, like scrambling around trying to find some way to help her, whatever. And um, anyway, we ended up chatting a bit afterward. And I found myself like instantly feeling guilty that this woman is running around, delivering boxes, like, the sort of our version of frontline workers. And and then she says to me, so how is it staying at home? And I was like, it's kind of great. I mean, it's great. I can't complain. I feel lucky, because yeah,
Yeah.
my kids are doing online school. They're doing it right now. They're older, so they're fairly independent and doing their thing. And I run my businesses from home. So life is good. It's beautiful here.
Yeah.
And yet I couldn't in that moment be like, it's really hard. I feel very confined. It's like, and I felt for a moment a little guilty, but she asked me, and I gave her an honest answer. And I
Yeah.
thanked her profusely and gave her a tip. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we are where we are, but I think that putting out that good energy is also it's also a gift. It's also needed. It all
Yeah.
belongs. As
Exactly.
Anastasia says, it all belongs.
Yeah, and like you said, I feel very fortunate. If there was another scenario that I had to deal with, I would address that. Right now I'm healthy. Um, and I have a couple of people around me that are really struggling with like a lot of the news. someone
Mm.
who I'm very close with, is very, very concerned about um, finances. And I feel like we all just have our part right now. And my part is just to be the calm level of support.
Yep,
If there's a
definitely.
reason to react, I'll react. But honestly, I haven't really felt that reacting has ever served me that well.
Yeah,
So,
and then helping out, I just did a little Instagram live this morning and just sharing this idea of reaching out to people and checking in on them.
yeah.
Also, a friend of mine posted, and I think if you're in a position that, let's say you get a stimulus check, and let's say you're in a good position that you don't actually need it, okay? And then being able to give that money. Literally, like she posted something that was like, listen, I actually did get my check and I'm still working right now. So privately message me if you need some of this money. No questions asked. And she is giving all of it away. And if you're not even in a position to financially contribute to nonprofits that you care about or people that you think might be struggling, even leaving like a positive review for a business or an author who wrote a book or anything, just this feeling of giving back to someone, I think, is another way to be positive in the face of what looks like this seemingly questionable spiral downward.
Right.
Um, we all have that ability, or even just checking in on people, because I know people are suffering and it's quite real and they are where they are. But if you have a little bandwidth to give back in whatever way you can, I think it's important too.
I so appreciate that you shared that, because I always felt like in 2008, when we had when people didn't really have a lot of money at that time because the economy was tanking so quickly, so fast,
Yeah.
it was like, what do you have? Everyone has a gift, a skill, a service that they can give. And
Yeah.
I mean, this was not something we could really ask Obama to have done, but I was like, I wish there was a service tax where
Yeah.
you gave 10% or 2 weekend days a month or whatever it is to help teach what you know
Yep.
to support someone else. And
Yep.
it's so interesting what you said about your friend, because right now, because Made for More is in such its early, early, early days, I definitely want it to be able to support the livelihood of these independent designers and brands, which are exceptional, like you and Blue Pen Ceramics, and there really are some exceptional lines on the brand. So it was meant to support them, because even when
Yeah.
I had my jewelry line, a lot of the brands that I was carrying at the store had 2, 3 other jobs. Like, they couldn't fully
Yeah.
make a living off of what they were doing, even though
Yeah.
their lines were exceptional. People loved them, but it's not always so straightforward. But it
Yeah.
was so interesting, because a couple weeks ago I was listening to a presidential conversation or and it was on YouTube, and in the sidebar, and I don't want to make this a political statement, but someone said, those people that hate Trump, and I don't think that I would ever say that I hate Trump. Hate's just not, but maybe he wouldn't necessarily be my choice in president, but I want him
Mhm.
to succeed for sure. Are going to be the first ones to cash in their stimulus check.
Mm.
And immediately, I have never reacted to a feed or any of these comments and gone down that rabbit hole. And I immediately said, and some of us who are fortunate enough to be working right now are going to give that check to someone who needs it more than we do. So
Mhm.
it's so interesting that your friend said the same thing, because
Yeah.
what I would like to do right now with Made for More is actually use it as a platform for inspiration. So we're going to be interviewing a different founder every day to hear their journey and what brought them on their path to passion and purpose, including you, which I'm so grateful about. And so that will be one series that's starting on Monday, the 4th of May. And then the other thing is, we're going to be doing a campaign, which is basically 11% of support. So right now, we may not have many sales on the site, and I'm not even really driving sales to the site, although fantastic if you want to support our designers, that's really great, because they're worth supporting, and Mother's Day is coming up, and that's all fantastic. But I do believe so much in this statement that 11% can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
And when you have a community at scale that's making a difference, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So we are going to
Thank you.
develop a campaign that's asking people, if it's your stimulus check, if it's a paycheck, if it's a day wage, if it's a single sale, if there's someone that's impacted your life, that supported your journey, or just
Yeah.
someone who's touched you that you might know or not know, um, you know, share 11% of what you can with that person and really create this global giving
Yeah.
um, movement.
And that notion of spread the love,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Corin, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I am so proud of you. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait to watch the Made for More community and platform grow as your ideas grow and your big wishes grow. And
Thank
I'm so
you.
grateful that our paths crossed. And I'm excited to like do a part 2 of this podcast a year from now
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
see where it's grown. We've got our little beginnings in a time capsule now.
Thank
And I
you.
just think you're terrific. And everyone, the links to Made for More are going to be with the podcast notes. And you can, of course, check it out at madeformore.design, not
Yes.
design.com, but instead of .com, it's .design.
It's dot
So go
design. All
dot
these new
design.
URLs, so let's keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, keep it simple. But thank you, Corin. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful for you. And you've been such an inspiration to me. So I can't wait to see where
Oh,
everything goes.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Alexa. What a pleasure.